Now that's a terrible story. So relieved that you're still alive.
Believe me, so are we. Have you heard anything about the prints we sent out for analysis?
I have indeed. The print definitely belongs to Franchetti. But since he can move around freely in the castle, this is no more than an indication. I'll keep an eye on that man, that's for sure.
And the other fingerprints?
The analysis is still pending. And unfortunately, my colleagues are still very, very busy.
Something terrible has happened. The monk, Brother Emmanuel, has been murdered. Both site manager Franchetti and Beatrix behaved very strangely after that. The investigating police are unfortunately overwhelmed by this case. That's why we stepped in and offered to help solve it. In the end, we were able to recover all parts of the vase. Shortly before we put it back together, we were attacked. An unknown Googleman saved us. First murder, then attempted murder. What next?
Finally, we've got the entire map.
Then let's take a look at it. Oh, another dead end. Yet another map.
Well, then let's have a look at that one as well.
I feel like this is really turning into a paper chase.
Mr. Dullman, we are very...
Hello, Professor. The phonograph you asked for was sent to the address you named by express and should have arrived by now. Please return this valuable device undamaged. Best wishes, Andrea Noble, assistant to Professor Dr. Adler.
If this really is the King's parrot, these audio recordings are absolutely sensational.
What do I care about this fowl? I'm interested in what it squawked.
Foul? I beg your pardon. According to the audio recording it says, past the Eiffel Tower, over the Thames, past the windmills, over the King's Gate, and back to Neuschwanstein.
Aren't there cities inscribed on the secret door at the St. Mary's Bridge? And isn't the Eiffel Tower in Paris?
The last time I was in Paris, the Eiffel Tower was still there. In his conservatory in the heart of Munich, Ludwig kept several exotic animals, such as a talking parrot. This story is proven by Princess Maria de la Paz, who was welcomed by this parrot on the 11th of May, 1883. He briskly said, "Good evening," after the king's death. The parrot disappeared, and his whereabouts remain unclear. By listening to the phonograph records of Ludwig's parrot, we are able to identify the following sentence: past the Eiffel Tower, over the Thames, past the windmills, over the King's Gate, and back to Neuschwanstein. Is this something like a code? It seems to relate to the king's flight route.
Flight route? Back in those days? Are you kidding?
Believe it or not, King Ludwig II was a real aviation pioneer. But I don't think he actually flew those routes. It was probably just his dream.
With this king, almost nothing surprises me anymore.
In 1869, the king decided to build an air wagon in order to fly over the Alpsy Sea. The technician of the Royal Court Theatre, Frederick Brandt, was ordered to construct this gas-powered vehicle according to the king's plans. Alternatively, he wanted to tension a wire rope 1,240 meters above the ground from Hohenschwangau to Sperbersau to at least simulate a flight inside a gondola. Today, a golden statue on Munich's airport shows the fairy tale king with the model aircraft in his hand. I feel like a mole. We really need a source of light.
I'm already looking around, but what should I be looking for?
In fact, back then Ludwig had already experimented with electricity. I bet we can turn on the light here somewhere.
Let there be light.
I can't believe it!
What is it this time?
What we have here is the first Bavarian electric power station, built by King Ludwig II himself. That I've lived long enough to experience this.
Men. A few cables, a few switches, a few coils, and they already think they've created the eighth wonder of the world.
Now, I'm at my wit's end. How can we get this mechanism to work?
Don't give up, Professor. Now everything is illuminated. We should take another look around.
In 1878, the king ordered the first Bavarian electric power station to be built in Castle Linderhof. 24 highly modern dynamos supplied the Blue Grotto with electricity. Furthermore, the king's moonlit sleigh had a battery underneath the seat, from which the electricity for the Edison carbon filament lamp came, the world's first electrically illuminated vehicle.
9th of June, 1886. They have really dared to do it. Our monarchy has been overthrown. 3rd of May, 1880. It was our touch of genius to build this grotto. Here below ground, we are not annoyed by the agonizing sounds of the ongoing construction work. It turned out well. The electric lighting is going to please our good friend Richard especially.
Unbelievable. This is almost an exact copy of the Blue Grotto in Linderhof Palace.
I'm speechless. This grotto is absolutely wonderful.
No one is going to believe any of this.
Well, I am used to that.
Ludwig built the original Blue Grotto into the rock in 1875 in Castle Linderhof. Inside there was an artificial dripstone cave and lake with electric wave machine. The Königssitz, or also Kristallsitz, formed the center of the grotto. Whenever the king wasn't being rowed across the lake in a golden swan, he sat on the subterrestrial throne and had a clear view of an erotic monumental painting with a Venus motif.
Professor, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you all day long. And you, my dear? I thought you were writing a story about the castle. Where have you been all this time?
I have been looking at the magical surroundings of the castle.
And we have found out that there are some fake paintings in the Singers' Hall. Of course, we started investigating this immediately, my dear.
Counterfeits? In this castle? That would be more than scandalous. Dear Professor, aren't you mistaken?
We?
We've just started with our investigation.
That's incredible. I must inform my supervisor. Please excuse me.
Have you gone crazy? We don't know yet whether Beatrix isn't involved in this herself.
I fully trust the Castellan. She hasn't ever done anything to suggest otherwise.
Let's hope so, by goodness. I can only pray that you are not mistaken.
I can always rely on my senses. We're not going to receive analysis of this fingerprint today.
Hopefully it's going to stop raining tomorrow. Otherwise the vaults will remain inaccessible.
Yes, indeed the rain is annoying, but a bit of sleep will be good for me. See you tomorrow.